I got to admit, with the Detroit Lions, they finished 13-1 last season. But as I mentioned in my season recaps, it was kind of an optimistic 13-1. Why do I say that? Well, when you look back at their first season without Matthew Stafford, because they traded Matthew Stafford to the Los Angeles Rams for a big draft haul of picks and Jared Goff. In their first season without him and their first season with a new head coach by the name of Dan Campbell, yes, they were pretty crappy. They were a pretty crappy team. They had a pretty bad roster. They went 0-10-1 heading into December. But for the large part of the season, they were pretty much in the games. Dan Campbell had his team fighting in a good amount of their games. And going into December, they ended their season on a high note. They had upsets over the Minnesota Vikings, who were still in playoff contention. And perhaps their biggest win of the season came 2 weeks later against the Arizona Cardinals at home, pretty much whooping their ass on Kyler Murray and pretty much that whole offense. And they also ended their season beating the top seeded Green Bay Packers, but they already clinched the number 1 seed by then, so that was kind of a pointless win for them. But by the end of the season, they netted themselves the second overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. And like I said, they did go 13-1 in 2021. But I mentioned in my season recap, which, by the way, if you forgot what happened with the Detroit Lions, go check that out. Things look bright for the Detroit Lions. Yes, they went through a lot of shit in their entire history of the franchise. But with Dan Campbell, this was a no-nonsense coach. He really wants his team to fight in the game. So this was kind of the guy that was the right person to lead the charge in this rebuild in the Motor City. And you had some pieces that broke out in 2021. The most notable one being a receiver by the name of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he was a very late round pick or an undrafted free agent, mind you. And all he needed was another wide receiver to complement him and a quarterback to go along with him to really take that next step. So for the Detroit Lions in 2022, their goal, while still in this rebuild, was to simply just win more games, to continue to inspire confidence in this Dan Campbell rebuild. Now, how do they get to that spot? How do they get to that goal in 2022? Now, they're probably not going to make the playoffs again, but that should be their goal. Winning more games to keep Dan Campbell around and inspire hope in Detroit. So, as I mentioned in my season recap, some of their priorities include getting that wide receiver to complement Amon-Ra St. Brown going into year 2, finding upgrades in the secondary because in 2021, they weren't very good in generating turnovers. They were like almost dead last in the league in that category. And in a kind of a weak offseason and in a very weak NFL draft, the Detroit Lions had to decide whether or not it was worth addressing the quarterback situation because Jared Goff, he was not good in 2021. He looked well shell of his former self from what he was in Los Angeles, what he was with the Rams. Honestly, he only had one good season two good seasons with the LA Rams. And then after Super Bowl, yeah, nothing happened after that. It just went downhill from there. So for the Lions, they didn't really do much in the offseason, most notably free agency. They didn't really do much. They did sign former Jaguars wide receiver DJ Clark. I think he was pretty much the number 1 option in that Jaguars offense with Trevor Lawrence. And they got a decent add in the defense by adding safety Deshaun Elliott, both to 1-year deals. So nothing much happened in free agency. But they also didn't really lose too much in free agency, like too many notable pieces. And then in the draft, that's where they really did their work. They added with the number 2 overall pick, Michigan defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, who I thought was a pretty solid guy. He just seems a little raw. He just likes to bulldoze a little too much. So whoever the defensive coordinator is, whoever's their defensive coach, will have a little bit of a project with Aiden Hutchinson. But what I did like in their draft was their trade up to go get Alabama wide receiver Jamison Williams. He's a very good receiver from what I've seen in the tape, and maybe he can help out Amon-Ra St. Brown, and maybe even help out Jared Goff a little bit, as long as Jared Goff can play. They also managed to add a defensive end by the name of Josh Pascal from Kentucky and free safety Kirby Joseph from Illinois. So some notable names from the Detroit Lions draft, and that's where they did their dirty work the most. So on paper, in the offseason, the Lions got a little better on defense. Not too much better, because in the secondary, you still have some things to address at your cornerback position. But you in the safety spot, it's a little solidified. Your pass rush is still kind of so-so. But adding Aiden Hutchinson and hoping that he has a good year, not like a total breakout year, that he's going to be an offensive rookie of the year contender, but adding Hutchinson, hoping that he develops well, should have some promising signs for Detroit down the line. And I don't know if it was Williams or someone else, but I think for Williams, I think he was the one that was coming off an ACL injury. But if he can stand, if he is coming into the season healthy, he can remain a really good complement to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He can be that key piece that the Lions were pretty much missing all season long, because other than Amon-Ra St. Brown, no one was there for Jared Goff to throw to. So it was either DeAndre Swift or Amon-Ra St. Brown in that offense. That was it. Speaking of DeAndre Swift, who's going to be the backup running back? Who's going to be that 1B, 1C, 1D behind him? Because whenever DeAndre Swift missed games at any point last season, the running back core was not good. It was not good. So some questions to ask there. And then for Jared Goff, this is literally his last chance to prove he can at least be part of this rebuild, at least prove he can be a capable starting running back. Starting quarterback in the NFL. So for Jared Goff, he has to prove that whatever was left from that Super Bowl season or that 2017 season, there's still a little bit of that left in him. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Jared Goff. If he can't do that, then the Lions are probably going to have to draft a quarterback in the next NFL draft. So some of their key games of the season, well, it's pretty much the first whole month of the season. 3 of your first 4, luckily, are at home. You get the Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington Commanders, and the Seattle Seahawks, with a road trip to the Minnesota Vikings sandwiched in between the Commanders and Seattle. So for Detroit, if you want to prove that you can win a couple of games against through 2 very beatable teams, if Minnesota chokes it up, you can go 3-1, 2-2, 1-3, 0-4 in the first month of the season. So these are some pretty key games for the Lions in the second year of their rebuild. So some questions I have going into the season for Detroit. Well, I think it's pretty clear. Does Jared Goff lead or destroy the offense's potential this season? Because, like I said, Jared Goff has regressed rapidly ever since that Super Bowl loss to the New England Patriots in 2018. So can he lead? Can he get a little better? Can he be manageable in leading the charge for this year, helping them improve a little? We'll see. We will see. So for the Dan Campbell Lions this year, the top goal should be getting more wins to inspire confidence in this rebuild. So with that said, they got a little bit better on defense. Offense, they got a pretty good receiver to go alongside Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, whether that amounts to anything in the regular season, we will see. But call me crazy, but I think they go 6 to 8 wins this season. 8 wins is a little bit of a stretch, but I could see them winning at least 6 compared to their 3 wins, because you add Aiden Hutchinson, a potential strong defensive player. Jared Goff at least has that decent receiver in Williams, and now you add him with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Get him the right quarterback if Jared Goff doesn't work out, and then the Lions are going to traject upward. So the Lions this season is all about getting more wins, and who knows, maybe they can surprise even more in 2022.